Hello, everybody. Good morning. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News, and we have a Bachelorette recap, Men Tell All. It was a wild one last night. It was actually more enjoyable than I thought it would have been. You know, there was no crazy drama. There was no giant shinay in the room, some terrible beef, but they ended up having fun and some heartwarming moments, and of course, Gerry, the Golden Bachelor, just stole the show as we expected. So we're going to get into all of this right now. Do me a favor, follow me on Instagram at DNeals for stand-up show updates this Thursday, Huntington Beach. Next Thursday, Seattle. Stand-up shows in your area. Patreon.com/Dave Neal. I'll be live at the 9 a.m. hour this morning, a little bit earlier than normal, to talk behind-the-scenes Bachelor news, and every afternoon, Bachelor Rush Hour, the hit podcast. All right, before we get into the Men Tell All, as you guys know, we're doing our teacher charity appreciation this month for all of our teachers out there that are trying to fill their Amazon wish list. Now's the time to do it. We've got the whole list on our page, link below, but today we're singling out Tracy from Pittsburgh, Carolina from Wellington, Colorado, and Bridget from Norman, Oklahoma. Those are our three teachers today. You can read a blurb about them and also donate to the Amazon wish list right there. More on that in the next video. All right, but we've got the Men Tell All, so let's get into it right now. It's just a way to regurgitate past beefs. I take notes, we'll read them back to you. No edits, no jump cuts, just me and you guys here. So sit back and relax if you can relax when we're just talking about nonstop petty drama. All right, basically the whole first part of the episode is just folks calling Brayden out for the storyline about he not really liking Charity, and then Brayden says he's been real all along and that the other guys are fake. Their realness is just different, is what he says. Brayden says he never called Charity classless, and then Adrian's like, well, where's the tape? And then no one provides the tape. This is, look, we could use presidential debates that have the fact checking that we have here on The Bachelor. A search was made for footage of Brayden calling Charity classless. So far, no footage has surfaced. Yeah, all of the footage they have from the show is probably logged with closed captioning. They can search for these terms. It doesn't show up. So why did everyone think that Brayden called Charity classless? Leave a comment. I mean, did we gaslight ourselves? The audience was like, no, you did it. And he's like, no, I didn't. And then the producers are like, trust me, if we had the footage, we'd love to show it right now. So either way, there is no footage. Then and then we got, of course, the title card, like I said, I don't know. It's just this whole part melted my mind, because are we just so adamant that we're going to create drama out of nothing that even the cast assumed Brayden said something that he didn't say? Brayden says he was just being real and forgot he had to play the game, which is kind of a good point. It's a kind of a good point. He says, you guys played the game because you're even trying to edit your swear words out right now, which of course was a weird point. But what he was trying to say was, we're all slightly different because the cameras are on. I think that's the point he was trying to make. And some people play up to their goofiness because they're nervous. Some people become more introverted. Some people become a-holes. We're all different when the cameras are rolling. Brayden has some solid points where he didn't even know the guys didn't like him because it was all behind his back, and that became the Brayden show. And by the end of it, the whole crowd loved him, and as I had suspected, having met Brayden and talked to him and realized he's a normal and albeit very charming guy, that he was going to be well liked. And of course, they tease that he's going to be on Bachelor in Paradise. All the dudes. And so let's go into the next story here. All the dudes that were on the Barbie date now throw shade at Sean because he won the Barbie date, and then on the evening portion immediately pulls Charity. Where's our Sean photo here? So there's Sean right there. Then the cowboy. So they're all kind of like razzing on Sean because Sean says, oh, Brayden's here to make it all about him. And then what does Sean do? He tries to make the whole episode about him, right? And of course, on the group date, after he had plenty of time to get to talk to Charity, he tries to steal her for another one-on-one, and everyone gets mad at him, and he's completely oblivious to why they're mad at him. And some people, I'm not saying it's a left issue or a right issue or whatever, but some people have the inability to read the room, and he seems to be one of those people. And so then we get to the part where the cowboy, Caleb, is that his name? He starts to go in on Peter, the guy who left on night one. This is where it gets interesting, And this is where there was a whole segment I did not expect. Peter says that all these dudes put some negativity out there and no one knows what he's talking about. And the cowboy, Caleb, calls Peter out and goes, "You just went home on night one. Who are you again?" He really was like ready to attack. Like it was almost like Caleb the cowboy was ready for and had a line, because look, he's a wrestler. He's ready to go. He's a performer. And he's like, as soon as Peter talks, I'm going to shout him down and shame him for being a guy that went home night one. Well, then Peter says all these dudes put something negative online about him, and Xavier says we shouldn't have done it. It was a bad play, an inside joke. But apparently Brayden was the one who told Peter. So Brayden was a part of the bad inside joke, regretted it, and told Peter. The inside joke was on all of their Instagram stories or posts, they all said FP, which stood for F Peter. Brayden was the only one with character to tell Peter what FP meant. Some guys apologized and some didn't. You can see online who said it based on these photos that they have are now edited because they edited it out. And it's like, look, if you have the balls to put FP in there, have the balls to not edit it out so we can all see which of you guys are absolute slime balls, catty. And look, they didn't have cell phones while they were on the set, right? So once this show was over, once they got back to normal society, they still had their inside chat room groups. Let's all post FP. I would love to know. I would absolutely love to know who initiated this so I could make sure to never talk about them ever again. That's such a psychopathic thing to do as an adult. And it makes us remember that even though you can look like an adult, have a beard like an adult, sometimes you're still a child in the head. I don't know what else to say about that. It was, of all the Shanae issues and all these other crazy villains in the past, this to me was more psychopathic than anything we've seen so far. And I truly mean that. This whole thing was on a level of like, at least Chad Johnson knew he was a villain. These guys thought they were just having fun. Truly, like, to me, the same as like skinning your cat. Like, what are they doing? All right, so Brayden says he wasn't aggressive, but was ready to fight them when they kind of walked out on him and tried to follow him when he wasn't trying to start any beef. Remember, they followed him. Brayden says he was in that bus and they yelled, "Hit the gas!" And he goes, "There was no driver in the car." A real funny moment when we had Brayden on the hot seat, where he was he just kind of like let us in on how absurd it was. Hey, hit the gas! And he's like, "Bro, there wasn't even anyone in the car." They put Brayden in the car so that the guys could have another chance to attack him, and it was just a wild moment. So then we see Brayden have a teaser for Bachelor in Paradise, and of course it was him and Kat Izzo smooching in the cabana. Oh boy, I tell you what, the show just has a life of its own. All right, if that doesn't hook you onto Bachelor in Paradise, I don't know what does. I'm excited for it. All right, so let's jump over to Xavier, and of course we showed here. This is when Sean crashes the hot seat, and no one asked him to be there. He just went up to the hot seat to try to have this white knight moment. What a weird moment. We say white knight because that's the moment where you try to. It's when they have the term for women called a pick me girl. This is a pick me bro. This is a guy who just wanted to come and say on behalf of all the men, and everyone's like, dude, shut the hell up and get out of there. And luckily Jesse's so smart and funny. He was like, look, you have to be invited, and he goes, you violated hot seat bro code. So Xavier joins the hot seat. Let's go to Xavier, a guy that was actually invited to the hot seat. Says the convo with Charity didn't go as planned. It's like, yeah. Duh. He told her he loved her for the first time at the car leaving. His biggest fear is when love isn't reciprocated to him. And he says at the hometowns, he told her he was falling in love with her, expected her to say it back, but it triggered him and he melted. And he said, look, I get it. I understand why she didn't say it back. I like that all makes sense, but I still was triggered. And it just goes to show you don't know what kind of emotions you're going to feel till you're just steeped in the center of this show. All right. Then Charity arrives. The crowd goes wild. There she is, looking beautiful. Sean walks. We already showed the part where Sean walks on stage. We're a little out of order. Xavier gets an actual hot seat with Charity, reiterates that he denounces the cheating. Charity says if he told her sooner, she wouldn't have brought him to that point. And then Xavier says it sucked to share his fears like that, and it goes so horribly. I mean, a truly horrifying moment that he shares one of his probably darkest things that happened, one of the biggest things he's ashamed of, and not only does it backfire, I mean, he's coming off like looking like he wants to have sex with, like, and he has to say, like, look, I didn't mean that I wanted to have sex with you to understand these things. I just wanted some more alone time. Like, this is a guy that was probably, if we can be as kind as possible, look at him, very nervous to talk about these things with the cameras and was just excited to have alone time. He says he still has feelings of love for her, goes off screen to get a rose he knitted for her. And of course, last week, I, didn't defend Xavier's actions of cheating, but I defended him as a human. A lot of people were like, yeah, but that ain't it. He's not this. He ain't shit. And it's like, okay. But I think what we saw last night was a kinder side of Xavier that you might not have felt during the edit, where he realizes he messed up and he's scared. He's scared of commitment. Maybe he comes from a friend group that doesn't have a role model of like what it looks like to commit, and he's just been with the boys. I mean, you hate to say it, but some of these guys, Brayden, Xavier, I mean, a lot of these guys are just like lost boys, right? They probably have buddies that are all single, and until you have friends that like have their shit together, and you don't realize, oh, there's a life outside of just being a bachelor. So yeah, you can understand he was scared, and you can give him credit for having the balls to actually share that with people, where some of these other scared little puppies aren't doing that. So then they do the bloopers. Captain Tom from the Bayou was there. There he is. He gave a rose to Sean. Okay, very decent bits. He cannot pronounce Charity's name, called her Chastity. Flew all the way there, and he could not get her name right. Former Bachelorettes Trista, Deanna, and Desiree show up. Do we have a photo? Hey, there they are. And then we get to Gary's story. The Golden Bachelor. Not a dry eye in sight. We find out all the breaking news, like he passed the STD and drug test. Very nice, Gerry. You made it through hell and back to pass the exams that Bachelor has. And look, what can you say about Gerry? I didn't take any notes because I was so in the moment watching him share his story, but I'm not surprised that we got to see Gerry truly break down and have this real heartbreaking moment where he talks about finding love and not looking for a love to replace the one he had with his late wife, but a new love. And I kind of feel like this is such a great lesson we could all learn, in that love comes in so many different forms. And let's stop trying to replicate things from the past, but just elevate everybody's highest frequency where we are today. And by that, I mean, don't try to make a situation something that it's not. Just try to elevate it to that frequency of love. Frequencies exist out there in different levels, from fear and hate, which is low level, and you can feel that, just like energy vampire and people that are feeling all of those negative energy, to these feelings of just pure abundance and bliss. And I feel like we truly have that with Gerry. And I think with that, we are going to see a ton of women rise to that level with him. And we're going to watch something truly magical happen. I truly believe that. I have from the second they announced this show. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of heartbreak that we see play out there. But I also think we're going to fall in love with this storyline. And it took them a while to cast Golden Bachelor, but it looks like it was worth the wait. Let me know what you guys think. I've got a couple other videos coming out. I have a Bonehead video about Ari, and I've also got a Jason Tartick update. So those videos and more coming today, this afternoon, Bachelor Rush Hour, the hit podcast, 9 a.m., patreon.com/Dave Neal for behind-the-scenes bonus content. We'll see you then.